Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Sprites of Life podcast. I'm Lucas.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Don.
So glad to have you guys back again. Honestly, it's a holiday week for a lot of people, so I'm glad you guys could make the time. Do either of you, or at least in the past, did either of you guys celebrate Easter holiday?
I mean, we do like the Easter egg hunts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we do all the Easter stuff. And then when I got older, I used to have a chocolate lab. And when my sister and I kind of aged out of the egg hunt bracket, our dog would do egg hunts, and we would hide Easter eggs with treats, and he'd sniff them out and actually open the eggs and everything with his mouth and get the treats.
That's pretty awesome.
That's pretty great. I never had the Easter bunny. My mom, being from Brazil, was like, it is about Jesus. We're going to church and then we're going out to eat dinner. And that was just like how my life was as I was
Ours was
growing up.
morning church and then brunch, and then my mom liked activities, and when my sister and I were too cool to do Easter eggs, the dog became the surrogate child for the egg hunts.
So rabbits and Easter are kind of connected, like just at least thanks to the European presence in America. And I figured now's as good a time of any to talk about rabbits. There's enough rabbit Pokemons for us to do a whole episode on them. It's a pretty chill topic. And honestly, hopefully the algorithm picks it up and we can work with that. But before we do, y'all hear about them wolves?
I have heard of the wolves. Yes.
Don, what are your opinions?
I'm a hater. I'm sorry.
I do be hating. I'm
To be
on
clear,
there
you're
the
not
hate
hating on the
train too.
wolves.
I
I
guess
mean-
not.
I hate
I don't
the
know, so-
scientists.
The wolves have done nothing wrong.
So they're not. I mean, one, I think it's cool. But one, direwolves, from what we know, I'm assuming you're referring to the how they allegedly brought back direwolves, Lucas.
Yeah, we're talking about them.
Yeah, so direwolves are, and so if I remember correctly from what I was reading about it, the scientists, they made about 20 edits to like 14 different gene pairs in gray wolves, all of which were just primarily like, phenotype, like visual changes, right? To make them, bigger, I think elongated muzzle, things we know from the fossil record that would match what we know of direwolves. But one, direwolves were more closely related to jackals, so it's not even like they're using a close relative. Like, it's not even the closest you could get, first of all. To the point where I think I was reading that they think that direwolves were distinct enough from gray wolves that they wouldn't have even been able to interbreed. So you really can't argue that it's that close to an actual direwolf. It's more like you just made a gray wolf look like a direwolf, which by the same metric I could just spend a bunch of time, breeding, I don't know, Great Pyrenees with German Shepherds until I had something that looked like a direwolf, and I went, oh, I brought back a direwolf. It's basically just a different breed of dog that they made. But it is neat. I do think some of the de-extinction stuff is cool. I know the same group really wants to bring back a mammoth, which I think would be really difficult, but I do think there's if this secures funding to do something like bringing back the thylacine, I would really like to see that.
They do have a branch that has been, and I talked to somebody who's connected to a zoo who they talked with. They are that same company working on trying to help make the red wolf population more genetically diverse with that same level of tinkering. So instead of
That would be very
making-
good.
yeah, they are actively working on trying to just make their genetics a little more just different, just trying to spread it out. So that way they're not as so genetically inbred. And that's cool. That's awesome. Y'all should have led with that instead of dragging George R.R. Martin from not writing that new book to come and take a picture with it. I understand the power of hype, but what ends up happening is once people dig into it and realize you were lying to them, now you have less funding after the hype. There is such a thing as bad publicity. And you're kind of starting to get it now that the hype is worn down because all the scientists are crawling out of the woodwork to actually you to death.
But the scientists aren't the ones who are going to be funding the money.
Yeah, but the scientists are going to be the ones who are going to be debating it and discussing it, and you need scientists to come and want to work with you. And if you're just doing stuff like this where you're again, there's nothing inherently wrong with altering a gray wolf to look a little bit different. We've been doing it for centuries over a long period, so them just doing a little tweaking in a lab isn't too far off. But as Don said, if I just had enough breeding experience and time, I could do this myself.
Oh yeah.
It's
No, it's like the tech is really cool. It's like they're hyping up the wrong aspect of it, but God knows what motives they have. They're trying to breed woolly mammoths and direwolves and God knows what other kind of extinct things, or not breed extinct things because that's not what they did. But
Yeah, with the woolly mammoth, basically what we'll see is the same thing they did with the direwolf. Like, hey, we tweaked something in an Indian elephant so that way its hair grows more. Like you already, yeah. So you really should be using that on male pattern baldness instead.
Yeah,
That
I,
might
I
get us
think
somewhere.
I think with the mammoth thing, which I do think would be cool to have mammoths back, but one, especially once you start getting into animals that are very social, you just can't replicate the actual animal because too much of that animal's like makeup is its social behavior and things like that. And if you made a mammoth, they would have to really make like a dozen mammoths, and even then, they're just gonna act like a hairy elephant. Like any unique behaviors or behavioral adaptations just won't be there.
Yeah,
Which
any
is why I
internal
think we
need.
should make
Yeah, go ahead.
solitary animals that are also weird little guys. If we're gonna de-extinct things.
like the
Yeah, look,
thylacine.
Yes.
if we're gonna fool around, at least make something silly. Don't like just bring it back to life. Honestly, the world of designer pets would really like these guys, but that is a whole other ethical nutshell. Let's find something less controversial. Oh, look, the Switch 2. uh, I have never been so happy to delay our news by 2 weeks because holy crap, Chris, Don, that was a heck of a ride.
That was a lot. It was a lot.
I gotta ask, y'all gonna try and pre-order that Switch too?
I mean, we'll have to see what the price is once they figure out, what the tariff impacts and all that kind of stuff is. I mean, there is a limit that I have on what I will spend on consoles at launch. I would say the odds are more likely that I would be able to, but I do not fault anybody who wants to sit out the initial launch.
Yeah, how we feeling about them game prices too? I mean, I thought GTA was gonna pull the pin, but like, yeah, no, Nintendo chucked that grenade right at us.
Look, these games, like, we better have zero performance issues.
If the new Pokemon is $80, I want it to run like clockwork. If I notice a single tree poorly animated, if I notice a single block of wood out of place, if I notice a single trainer phasing into the ground after I've defeated them, I will return that game. I'm not
Well,
I'm
have you
not playing this
considered
game.
that it would be really funny though if all of that happened?
Not $80 funny. $60 funny? Absolutely. We have been milking Scarlet and Violet since it came out, even though it's been terribly running. We could work with that. We're experts at this. But like for $80, like, man, Pokemon, I don't know how much more money you think I have, but it ain't infinite. I can't keep it up.
But like, all that to be said, there was some really cool stuff.
Yeah, it looks like it can run games. That's
I mean,
nice.
specifically on the games.
Okay, forget Donkey Kong. 2 words. Kirby Air Riders. That's it. That's all they needed from me to be like, I'm listening. Kirby Air Ride was my jam. Donkey Kong looked cool. Smashing stuff is neat. But Kirby Air Ride was one of my childhood games. I love it more than I can explain in the time allotted to us. The fact that the man, the myth, the legend himself is working as the director, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see it. But again,
Don's gonna have to get a Switch too if he wants to keep his FromSoft train rolling.
I know. I'm excited for that. I'm blanking on the name, but whatever not Bloodborne 2 is, I have to get it.
What was
Bloodscorn
the name of
2.
it?
Bloodscorn. There we go. We fixed it. It's not Bloodborne 2, it's Bloodscorn. Yeah, that's it.
Is that what it's called?
Bloodscorn.
No.
No, God
No.
no. That'd be hilarious.
Duskbloods.
Yes.
That's not too far off. Come on.
Not at all, actually. That's like almost a faction that's in the Bloodborne games.
I mean, listen, we asked for 10 years ago of like, hey, can you make something more of this? And Sony said no. And then Nintendo's like, Thanos, fine, I'll do it myself. I hope it's fantastic. Everything else about the system and everything I've read on the reviews or watched the videos, it runs well. Its battery sucks, but it's able to actually play modern games like Cyberpunk. And I think that's one of the big holdouts of the Switch is that anytime you see, hey, this game is coming out on all these consoles and the Switch, you can't get the Switch version because it's going to suck. Like, it's just not going to run as well. And that's just something you have to deal with. But now, at least first year or two, will be able to actually hold its own for most consoles.
I will say two things. I kind of scoffed, or not scoffed. I was kind of indifferent on the mouse function of the controller, but when it was brought up and how it plays with games like Sid Meier's Civilization, that actually seems really cool.
Pokemon Ranger 2 or 3 or
Yeah,
whatever Pokemon Ranger we're up to also. You
yeah.
get the drop.
So there are some cool applications with it for that. I laughed out loud when they were marketing the game chat feature.
Oh, you mean Discord?
Like they're marketing that, and it's like, oh yeah, it is 2025, and we still don't have that in Nintendo.
Did you see the videos they were showing off in that?
Yeah,
Someone described them as, yep, it moves at 5 pixels a century.
yeah, and like it is cool that you can like pick your friend's screen and just make their game bigger on yours and watch them play. Like, yeah, that is cool, but also, why is it taking this long to get here?
Also, why does it run like garbage? It's like those whole demos are all about showing you the best possible quality to make you buy it. And
Yeah.
that's what they had. That was the best they could do. That's nuts. I mean, I'm glad they aren't lying. But if that's the best you can do, oh my god.
So suffice to say, probably still am getting it. But we were originally talking, me and my wife and I were talking about each of us getting one. We are only going to get one because of the price, and then also because she doesn't feel the need to upgrade, although she was almost compelled by Hyrule Warriors 2.
That game looks pretty good. All
Or
right.
the War of Imprisonment, Age of Imprisonment. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's table this in 2 weeks and see if the price didn't double thanks to the tariffs.
Yes.
All right. Today's episode, we are focusing on the rabbits. They're a group of animals that, I don't know, when it comes to rabbits, most people tend to either think of them as just adorable, innocent, living plushies, or they don't think of them at all. Like well, for the longest time, people thought they were just specialized rats, when in fact they're their own separate group. Have either of you ever had experience like having a pet rabbit or working with rabbits or anything like that?
I mean, I've been around rabbits.
My sister's had a couple. Actually, well, when I was very young, I had some rabbits for like a little bit, but we gave them away because I was like 6 and they were not like optimal pets for a young child, we realized. I named them Speedy and Race Car. Later on, my sister had some rabbits that when she was more mature to own them.
Race
And,
car is the perfect name for a rabbit coming from a 6-year-old boy. So well
Yeah.
done on that one.
Yeah, and my sister had a big rabbit. I remember the breed because there's quite a few breeds of domestic rabbits, but
Yeah, apparently
I've had a
dozens.
couple rabbits around. I guess I could say at least.
With rabbits, back in the day, there was this idea that rabbits were just an offshoot of rodents, but they are their own group, Lagomorpha. And Lagomorpha is separated from the rodents specifically because of dentition and bone structure. The biggest difference between rats and rabbits are their teeth. Rabbits have 2 upper incisors and are all almost exclusively herbivorous. Rabbits do have constantly growing teeth, just like rats do, but their dentition and the way that they move is different from rats, especially when it comes to their hind legs. Currently, there are rabbits across every continent except Antarctica. It's about 70 different species, dozens of breeds, and all of them have a few things in common. They have a super powerful immune system, the teeth, like we mentioned. Most of them are going to eat almost any wild vegetation they can find. They can run anywhere from 25 to 30 miles an hour. They eat their poop for nutrients. And okay, this next part's gonna sound weird, but it is their superpower. They ovulate automatically when mating. Although they're not the best parents, but they do. That's the secret to their reproduction. So you've all heard the phrase breed like rabbits. Well, for them, every time they reproduce, they're ovulating, which means they're ready to go ahead and have babies. So that's one of the reasons why they've been so successful at surviving. This is something I didn't know, and please tell me if this is dumb. I did not know that hares and rabbits were separate.
I did know this.
See, I didn't know this at all. I thought it was just another word
That's
for
why it's
them.
the tortoise
I
and the
feel
hare, not the tortoise and the bunny.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, I assumed it was a gazelle antelope situation where, like, a hare was a specific kind of rabbit that they got the name. But yeah, I didn't know. Don, what are some of like the major differences?
It's been a minute. I think there's something with the pupils. I mean, hares are larger. I know they're not social. I think hares don't live in burrows and rabbits will. That I might be wrong about that.
Yeah, the rabbits will generally have burrows and they will socialize more in them. The hares are also a crap ton faster, and
Also, they'll stand up and it's creepy.
oh yeah, no. Hang on. I have to find a hare standing up. Chris, have you ever seen a hare stand up?
Yes.
Like, it is. Oh God, I hate looking at
Oh, that's
that.
right, yeah,
That is.
hares also, yeah, hares don't burrow and they have a smaller litter size as well, and larger ears to body ratio.
So that's one of the reasons why hares will have longer ears is because they have to listen out more. Also, they tend to live in more arid environments, so hares tend to have more thermoregulation. They need it in order to survive.
Yeah, their very big ears help them with that because they can flood them with blood and it lets them cool down faster.
Yeah, so they're their own really cool group, and they are pretty tough. They have to deal with predation. Both rabbits and hares have to deal with being attacked and eaten by so many different animals. But one of the things, I was chatting to Will about it, Paleo Buddy, and he was talking about how a hare is what happens when you give rabbits horse features. So everything around a rabbit is almost like if you did the same thing with a horse to a rat. The bone structure, how it's functioning, the shapes of everything, even the leg bones in the hind legs are formed similar to that of a horse. They are built for running. They are built for getting away from a problem as fast as they can. And I don't know about you, but if something can go from 0 to 35, I ain't catching it. We literally had to breed dogs fast enough to catch them. Like, they are very good at what they do. But of course, we do have the Easter Bunny. Either of you know where the Easter Bunny comes from without reading the notes? In Germany, there was an old pagan myth about a spring goddess named Ostara. She would turn herself into a rabbit to entertain the children and give them presents at the coming of spring. Meanwhile, the
How did the
Christians,
rabbit transport the presents? Did it have like a bag? Was it like
I think from some of the art I was seeing, it would just either magic them up or it would give them like more natural gifts, like
gotcha?
flowers and stuff. Like, this is like it's an old German fairy tale. Who cares? Probably a sack. Let's just assume a sack. Um, the Christians, on the other hand, viewed the egg as a symbol of Christianity, specifically the resurrection, because Jesus resurrects himself from the tomb. The shell is considered the tomb. The chick breaking out is that new life. So the eggs have been symbols in Christianity for a little while. When the Germans migrated over to Pennsylvania and rest of the United States, they brought that tradition with them. It kind of fused together, and that's where the Easter Bunny comes about. And bunny that represents the innocence and the new life and the fertility with combining the eggs of resurrection. And that's where the Easter Bunny comes from in our culture, which is why my culture didn't celebrate it, because it didn't make its way to South America in such a way as the German culture did to places like Pennsylvania. Other cultures, on the other hand, y'all have heard of the moon rabbit, right?
Yes.
So,
AKA Wigglytuff.
you got me there.
I mean,
He's not wrong. But what if I told you other humans thought of the moon rabbit along with Asia?
That would not surprise me.
So,
It's like
both
dragons.
So whereas many Western cultures saw the man in the moon, the face in the moon, all these different figures, both in ancient China and Mesoamerica, the native indigenous cultures, both of them looked up at the moon and saw different types of rabbits there. Now, on one culture, in the Eastern cultures, you have the story of the moon rabbit, and he looks like he's running a giant mortar and pestle. And depending on whether you go to Korea or China or Japan, the story changes of what exactly he's pounding into that mortar and pestle. There's even in Japan, some stories talk about them crushing mochi. It's weird. It's not one I didn't have the time to go into because it was a lot of reading for this. Meanwhile, in Mesoamerica, there were stories about rabbits in the moon and how the rabbit sacrificed its life for one of the gods, and the god immortalized it in the moon. So rabbits have been used as symbols throughout human culture because they've been around so many of our cultures as we survived. Now, today, they are considered pets, food, and or pests, depending on where you go. When you let rabbits loose, they can cause widespread economic environmental harm due to their breeding ability and appetite. Like I said, it's their superpower. Australia got the worst of it, as it usually does when you let an invasive species loose. In 1957, a rich British dude decided to release a few rabbits in order to make things feel a bit more like home. How many do you think he released?
I'm gonna
20.
say it's like a dozen, and now there's millions.
It's actually 24.
That
So
was
he released.
close.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
that's what's
closest.
close.
Yeah, 24 rabbits. There some sources claim that by 10 years later, you could kill 2 million each year and not make a dent in the population.
Oops.
Oops. Yeah. Australia had such a huge problem with this that by the 1950s, they had over 6 million rabbits roaming the countryside, devouring everything in their path, messing up the environment and agricultural industries. They had to bring in a virus to do it. They used biological warfare on the rabbits. They dropped the population from 600 million to 100 million after that. But then in the 90s, the numbers were back up to 2 to 300 million. So they got immune to it and they had to release a new virus. It's insane. You can't stop them. When you have enough rabbits without deterrence, terrible.
I'm surprised that Australia did not have enough deterrence, natural deterrence for rabbits.
Australia doesn't have enough large predators to deal with it.
Yeah, they
Like,
don't.
if you
I mean, there's
really,
other things that could kill Australia, but outside of dingoes and a couple species of snake, there's really not. There's not really not that many things that would run into rabbits to eat them.
yeah, it's just not exactly like it's just not. You don't have wolves or anything out there doing the job. You don't have weasels doing the job. I will say, during the Great Depression, the rabbit infestation really helpful for making sure people had enough to eat.
Mm.
So there's that. But that's all the science and history I have. I want to start off with our Pokemon rabbits. I'm just going in chronological order to which rabbits we got. And I will say from the start that I think Pokemon didn't do a great job with their stat pools.
Is
And I'm saying
Wigglytuff
this
not
to,
a rabbit? Looking at these rabbits,
I think I didn't put Wigglytuff in because I forgot Wigglytuff existed. Okay, I am human. I am flawed, and that's why I grown because I've realized.
We've talked about Wigglytuff. We can talk about the other
Yeah.
buddies.
Okay, because I feel bad. I left Wigglytuff out, and I know I have the perfect picture for this. I'm gonna put up on the YouTube where it's just like the puffed up Wigglypuff of anger. But yeah, it's the Moon Rabbit. We'll talk about it more if someone wants to. But I wanted to talk about. I mean, first of all, Azumarill, which I would argue is probably the most successful of all the rabbits, at least from a competitive scene.
Bluekachu.
Bluekachu.
That
Who
was
could forget the
Peekaboo.
days of Bluekachu? Peekaboo. So Azumarill really blew up after Gen 3. When you got that fairy typing, Azumarill plus huge power, plus Aqua Jet, plus Belly Drum, plus Play Rough equals pain.
But then you miss your play rough, and that's the real pain.
Yeah, that is the real pain. But it's still really cool that Azumarill made it as far as it did. No one expected that back in 1999, and yet here we are. Azumarill was a key part of a lot of people's teams back in the day. Even I remember that, and I was on the lower ranks of things, always have been. But it was one of the first true rabbit Pokemon. It was meant to mimic a flotation vice. Honestly, I think it looks like it ate a giant egg. I mean, that's just my thought process. I will say, I really like its counter shading. You know, it's got like the white belly and stuff, and like the bubbles and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really love that because that shows like it is aquatic. Like it has counter shading like a shark does, but instead of swimming on its belly, which it doesn't do, it just floats around. That's a really cool way to show off counter shading for this animal. Now, I will say, real rabbits, terrible swimmers, and so are hares. They aren't exactly known for it. They'll do it if their life depends on it, but they are not great swimmers. They do also point out that Azumarill has excellent hearing. Apparently, Azumarill can tell the difference between threats, which is super cool. Honestly, I'm glad that they gave it Aqua Jet, but like, look at the stats on this thing. Like, its speed is deplorable. I think rabbit Pokemon should be faster. That's just me.
I think it's kind of fun that it's like I think most rabbit Pokemon are. I think it's kind of fun that we have a non-fast. I mean, we just said they're bad swimmers, so he's in water, so he's not that fast.
We have two fast rabbits of the we have two fast rabbit lines. The rest of them are pretty slow. But yeah, I see your point. But what made Azumarill drop off the face of the map? Like I remember used to see this thing on almost every other team, but what happened?
So, I mean, one general power creep. I mean, I remember when I first started playing competitive. I think in the right format, every now and then you'll still see a Azumarill for a bit. I think it got a little bit of play, early like Reg A maybe, but now we just have other physical water types that don't require the belly drum setup. Obviously, whenever Urshifu is legal, it's Urshifu. And then now we have things like Palafin. It also competes with, but in the right formats, it definitely still is viable. It's gotten a lot of new tools. It has Ice Spinner and Liquidation as well now, and it does hit really hard thanks to huge power.
It's
People
also
have
not the.
occasionally sorry.
I was gonna say it's also not the only water fairy anymore.
That is correct. I mean, we have Primarina.
And
I think it
Happy
still has
Kitty.
a niche, not so much right now in like restricted formats where I think in lower power formats, Azumarill still has a chance to shine, but in high power formats, it really struggles to compete.
Well, I mean, the other rabbits we have to contend with. All
I will.
right, we're
I
gonna
will
have
say one more thing on Azumarill, Lucas.
yeah.
The one place it cannot die is Pokemon Go.
Oh God, what does it do there?
It's just because of like Don said, like in the lower level formats, it thrives. That's basically what like the Great League is, and Azumarill has been nerfed multiple times, and it just won't go away. I think at the most recent regional, it was on like 60% of the teams.
My God, it really does breed like a rabbit.
Yeah, it will not. It was Azumarill was on the first team that won a Pokemon Go World Championship, and it has been in like peak usage every year since.
What would we have to do to nerf it? Like truly
Um,
put it down.
they don't really remove moves, so you would have to like you would have to make the moves it has do less damage. But the problem is if you do that, then you're impacting so many other Pokemon.
I see. They're at a tight spot for that.
Yeah.
Um,
You could like nerf bubble so it doesn't generate energy as fast, so it gets to the move slower. But it's also
hmm,
just so dang thick that it might not matter still.
gotcha. Well, we have to talk about this group, and I'm really hoping people can be cool about this. Because on the list of Pokemon you cannot Google is Lopunny and Buneary. We'll talk about Buneary first. These bunnies are a little bit more violent than a Azumarill. Azumarill will literally float around and save people. These ones literally just pack a punch. I love Buneary's like Pokedex entry. Like, you know how it like tucks its little ears in, like it looks all cute? It's winding up a punch. Like each one of those ears can like spring forward and punch you in the face. Which I just think is hysterical. Like imagine like trying to pet this thing, you pet it wrong, and it just punches you in the face with its ears. Like that is nuts to me.
Keep your head on a swivel.
Keep your head on a swivel. But then when it evolves into Lopunny, um, okay, Lopunny is a kicker. Like it's supposed to hit you with kicks. I will say that how tall is Lopunny? I gotta go pull that up again. Like Lopunny is a specific height. I had to pull it up.
It's decently big, right?
Yeah, so it's decently big. Its height
I'm
is
gonna
311.
four.
It's
I would say 4 feet. Yeah.
yeah. But if I look up the largest rabbit in the world, like the largest rabbit ever recorded, which is definitely heavier than the world's largest rabbit. I need to find out where was it? Where was it? Oh, here he is. The largest rabbit in the world ever was a Flemish giant rabbit. It measured 4 feet 3 inches. There is a rabbit in our world that is bigger than this thing.
I was actually at a trade show for work stuff for like pet industry things, and there was a famous giant rabbit there who I guess is the therapy animal at an airport. His name is, I think it's Alex the Rabbit or something like that. Alex the Great. He's a really
Yes.
big
Oh my
rabbit.
God. I was hearing about Alex the Great.
I got to meet him. He's very
No
soft.
way.
Yeah.
You got to meet Alex the Great. That's
He was in
incredible.
he was in one of those Jeeps that children drive around, like the little electric ones. But like
Oh
he
my.
was driving it. Or I guess there was a guy with a
No.
controller, but he was in it and they drove him around. He was driving around in it.
I cannot. We were literally talking about this rabbit today at work. No way. Here's his picture, Chris, if you haven't seen him. Look at him.
I got to
Yeah,
meet him. He had a little hat on.
Oh my
He's so
God. Yeah,
cute.
no, giant Flemish rabbits were originally supposed to be for food. But when people found out, no, this is just a corgi but rabbit, people decided to have them as pets. And they worked pretty well. People love these things. But like Lopunny is not even as big as this thing, which is hysterical to me that a real world rabbit is better than like the humanized.
Oh, I put a
Oh my
picture in.
gosh, Don, that's even better. Look
That
at
was
him.
yeah. See, that's him in his car where I met him.
Oh.
He has a little hat.
I love him so much. Oh my gosh. Oh no, they should have. Oh, if there's a regional variant of Lopunny, I just want it to be one with a Jeep. At this point, oh my god. Okay, okay. I really lost my train of thought thanks to the stupid little hat. Okay, so real world rabbits will run most of the time, but if they are cornered, they will fight. Lopunny is built in such a way where it's gonna go for the kicks. Like its mega evolution goes for the kicks. Real world rabbits will bite, they will scratch, they will kick. They also will aim for the face. And so they're not out to kill you. They're out to injure you and stun you enough to get away from the problem. When Lopunny got its mega evolution, I loved the speed boost. Like that's really what made Lopunny stick for me, along with the scrappy ability. If there is ever a Pokemon that deserves the scrappy ability, I think a Lopunny's mega ultimately does. Did any of y'all use it in your teams?
I think I used it. So back when Mega Kangaskhan was like the guy,
Yeah.
Mega Lopunny also got some usage. I used it a little bit. I think in maybe the 2018 or 19 season as well. Also, fun rabbit fact that's not fun, but it makes sense. With Mega Lopunny, Mega Lopunny learns high jump kick, and if you miss high jump kick, you take 50% of your health and recoil. And my sister, from having pet rabbits, she told me that if you lift, like I guess rabbits, their legs are very strong. If you pick up a rabbit incorrectly, you need to support their legs, and if you don't, and they kick, they can break their own spines. So 50% recoil, I guess at minimum, would be that.
That seems a lot better than breaking your own spine.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll take the recoil. I'll take the recoil over kicking out my own spine. That feels like that's like the rabbit equivalent of somebody trying to lift too many weights at the gym. Like just too much power. You can't have that much power. I think Lopunny was the first fast rabbit we had, and I think that's a pretty good comparison. Plus, I gotta say, it's a clean design with the Mega Evolution.
It looks like Jazzercise.
It does. It literally is one of the few megas that lost weight when it mega evolves. So it sheds off the extra fur, it gets lighter, and then it's much more likely to be able to kick you. Also, I really love that attack stat. 136. It's nice. It's nice to just go from almost doubling the attack stat of the original. It's fun. But from one rabbit that gets a lot of distinction, we're going to have to talk about one that everyone kind of forgot. Y'all remember Diggersby?
Yes, because I lost to it at the first ever Pokemon regional I went to.
Really? I mean, this thing was just dirt Azumarill.
Yeah, it's
And
actually
because it is Dirt Azumarill, it is very relevant in Pokemon Go.
God dang it. Really?
Yes.
Again?
It is big, especially with its typing. Normal ground, it does really well.
So I would say that Bunnelby looks like a hare to me, but again, it digs burrows and it's built for digging burrows. Its entire ears are built to be like shovels for digging into the soil and the sediment. And rabbits are incredibly famous for their burrows. Warrens, you might hear that name come up with rabbits, are just burrows that all have interconnected together. And people have actually made, real like artificial warrens and house rabbits for their meat and their skin. Um, Bunnelby and Diggersby kind of got forgotten just because, well, I mean, they showed up in Kalos, and then they only showed up again in Scarlet and Violet for like a bit, but no, everyone kind of forgot them. I'm glad that we're going back to Kalos to get them back.
that's right. Yes, maybe we'll get a Mega.
Mega Diggersby's just
Mega Diggersby. Okay, how would you make a Mega Diggersby? Would you just make him look like he's
he
doing jazzercise? Just
he
reskin the
now
Mega.
no, he now drives much like Alex the Great, he's just driving an excavator.
Excavator?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's your
And
Mega Evolution?
he just uses his ears to work the levers instead of using his ears to dig themselves.
What's your power? I got my license.
I'm certified.
Certified.
Certified. Oh god. So on the note of Diggersby being compared to an excavator, apparently it's a whole lot stronger. So the Dex entry says that it can dig through bedrock. Excavators
pretty
can't do
strong.
that.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
But like no, like seriously, like they have specialized drills and stuff to try and get through it. But even then, those are just
But do you have ears?
they have chemical explosives.
Have they tried their own ears?
No, they had bombs. The bombs can do it. So, like, you drill into there, you put chemical explosives down the hole, you run for your life, and go boom, and the bedrock gets a little bit broken. And you keep going at it. Diggersby, on the other hand, literally just tunnels through the rock, which is nuts. Not Doug Trio 60 miles under nuts, but still pretty nuts. I do also love the shiny form. The shiny form is top tier. Perfect.
Yeah,
I mean,
little those like the white mustache instead.
well, like it gets white snow colors instead of dirt colors. And I will say, hares are more famous for changing colors during the season than rabbits are. But again, it got forgotten. I really like its design. I love it's a chunky, weird Azumarill. I think it looks cool. I know a lot. When it first came out, I still remember people like, this is the dumbest thing ever. And I go, yes, that's the point. The whole point is that it's dumb. And I love them.
I will say that by and large, if someone were to tell me that they liked the pre-evolution before the final evolution, I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. I
Yeah,
feel
that thing
like
is adorable.
Diggersby and Bunnelby both are great in their own ways. Like
I mean,
this is
Bunnelby is just
probably
adorable.
this is probably one of the like best designed lines, Bunnelby and Diggersby. I love both of them.
I can definitely agree. I know people did make some attempts to turn it into ground Azumarill, and I guess it worked kind of. But it's still much like Azumarill, kind of just dropped off with, as Don said, power creep. Other guys came into place. Like the fact that your, I don't know, normal ground doesn't have the same defensive capabilities as Water Fairy, so you can't really take as many hits. It was cool while it lasted. I like the little dude. But we have one last rabbit, and it's the best rabbit, the Scorbunny line. The greatest of all the rabbits and one of my top 5 favorite groups of starters. Probably like top 3, top 4. I love Scorbunny. It's so cool. Unironically, the best starter in Galar. You can
And a
fight me on that one.
great ability.
I mean, great ability. I mean, I wish it wasn't like thanks to Greninja, it was nerfed more than it should have been. Great ability, great design aesthetic, great theming for the entire region. I mean, the fact that you turned a rabbit into a football star, once called soccer in Europe, um, it's so good. It's such a good idea. Like, not only that, but you were able to appeal to like the Japanese sensibilities by giving him the yellow patch, which is like a common trope in anime to like, oh, I'm an athletic, quirky guy, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a bandage over my nose. That works. Like, it's absolutely insane how good a job they did. I had to look it up. The mountain hare is the only native member of Lagomorpha in the UK. The European rabbit got introduced to the UK in the 12th century, and then they kind of just been spreading out. I will say that the European rabbit was also the one they let loose in Australia. I love this thing. I love fighting with this thing. I think its Dynamax was a really cool idea. I would say that Scorbunny was basically the most bunny. But I argue that Reboot and Cinderace are like 80% sports and 20% rabbit. I mean, if you want to differ, that makes sense.
You lose a little bit of the bunniness as it gets bigger, for sure. They become a little bit more
Human.
humanoid.
Yeah. Shout out to Raboot, which is my favorite secondary evolution for a starter ever. Like that's my number one favorite secondary.
I'll give you that one. Reboot is
Like he's
pretty
my
cool.
he's the best. I don't care about Marshtomp. I don't care about Grovyle. I don't care about whatever Tepeg turns into. I don't care. I love Reboot.
Oh,
It
I
looks
mean,
like
let's shout out all the Galar second tiers because Thwacky and what's Sobbles?
Drizzly.
Drizzle,
Drizzile?
Drizzile.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean,
all
he
of them
looks
are
like
pretty great.
he looks like a little Slav. He looks like a Slavic gopnik, like Chikabriki, like some guy out of like Czechoslovakia. I love him. He's so cute. Um, he is the one of the fastest of the rabbits. Like he is definitely up there in speed. If it wasn't without a Mega Stone or anything, he's definitely what I see as a rabbit, just nonstop running. That is what rabbits are good at: making more rabbits and running really, really fast. And I think they
Especially if
did a
you pop
stellar
off
job.
a Max Airstream.
Oh yeah, no. Once you pop off the Max Airstream, then you're good to go. But like, still, it's pretty cool. I love this design. This is just exactly everyone when they saw this thing was like, that is a rabbit. Done deal. Easy peasy. I think that if they ever go back and change this Pokemon in any way, I'd be shocked to see what they do with it because it's perfect. It's not like the Kalos ZA ones where like each one of them could be like you could make a few touch ups here and there. It's like no, this is perfect. This is the
You want to know how I would change it if I was doing a regional version, Lucas?
You'd make it an American football player, wouldn't you, Squidward?
No, I would make it a basketball player.
You're not wrong. That
Because it
might work.
hops. Because it hops.
It does that hops. It does that hops. All right. So before we wrap up, real quick, we have enough rabbits, I think, but if we were to make a new rabbit Pokemon or a new hare Pokemon, would you just go about it making it more sports, or do you think we should go a different direction?
I mean, you could always do sports, but I think the thing about rabbits that you kind of talked about is that rabbits are so entwined in folklore that I feel like there's just a really deep well that we Pokemon has barely like scratched the surface in the inspiration areas. You
I
know?
agree. There have been mythical rabbits in a lot of different mythology. So, all right, if I type like, oh my god, why not a jackalope?
Yeah. Jackalope. I mean, like you could also say like I think like rabbits are sometimes thought of as like tricksters, so you could have like a dark type rabbit.
I agreed. Don, if you were to stat a jackalope Pokemon, what would we do with it?
I feel like we already have the fairy type rabbit. Uh, I mean, the fact that it's like a cryptid, I feel like it should be like maybe a dark type or something almost, you know?
Mm-hmm. I think that would definitely be it. And then, oh god, what if we gave it Horn Leech and Speed Boost as an ability?
That's kind of nutty. I kind of like it though.
Right? Exactly. I would make it. I know this typing is bad, but like either Grass Dark or Pure Dark, and I would just run with that. but then give it Sap Sipper. You give it either Sap Sipper or Speed Boost, depending on which one you want to go with. Like literally just another Azumarill. Oh my god, I made a new Azumarill. Oh my god.
Speed Boost.
I didn't mean to.
Speed Boost.
I didn't mean to. Oh god, no, but that's just Azumarill. It's either this okay ability in neat situations, or this really cool one. Like that's just Azumarill again. Oh god. Yeah, I think that would be the route. Dark type, give it Horn Leech because of the attack. I think that'd be fine.
We don't have any grass bunnies, do we?
We don't. They eat vegetation, and we don't have any of that. I mean, we have ground, which makes sense.
I feel like you could do like a grass ground.
Azumarill does get Sap Sipper.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like Azumarill gets Sap Sipper, and then it gets huge power. Like you could give this thing Sap Sipper and then Speed Boost. What if it's a regional variant Azumarill?
I could make it a special attacker instead of physical.
Yeah, no, it's literally just like or like what they did with like Wiggly, with the
Wug Trio.
Wug Trio. Yeah, it's literally just like, oh no, they just look similar, and it just has no typing involved in any kind. I think that could work too. Like the Jackalope is a really weird design, and it's such a simple cryptid. You can kind of play all kinds of weird stuff with that. I mean, no matter what direction they go with it, no matter what the future holds, at least it's not like the sharks, or we just need more of them in general. We have lots of rabbits already, but I'm hoping that if they add one more, Jackalope, that'd be cool. Anything else, boys? I think we covered all of them except Wigglytuff. On that, I do apologize. That's on me. My bad.
No, I think there's a good representation of bunnies, but you know what? There's always room for more.
There's always room for more. We really should get a hair, like just a straight up, like this thing sees the past, the present, and the future all at once. Like horrifying stare. All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining me on another random rant. Hopefully we'll have some more fun next week. But for now, for everyone listening, have a wonderful rest of your day or night. If you celebrate, have a lovely Easter. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming to listen.